season, dominating the Portland Trailblazers. Offensively, they break them time and time again. Defensively, Rudy Gobert was insane, and the Jazz roll. We're talking about it coming up on POSTCAST. David Locke along with Ron Boone. We come to you after every single game live on Facebook at David Locke, as well as on Twitter at DLock09 and on YouTube at Locked On Jazz. Join us after every game. The chat room is open. We're excited to chat with you and have you chat with friends. You can subscribe to any of those channels and make sure you get notified by hitting the little bell and joining us each and every time. And Ron, this was the most complete performance of the year by the Utah Jazz.
And what makes it fun, as we are lucky and blessed enough where we can watch practice, we can watch the defensive schemes or offensive schemes of what they want to do out there on the floor, and to watch things work. It just shows the amount of time that coaches, assistant coaches put in order to make some things. There she is. in order to make things work out there on the floor. And so that's the reward I think that we get, because we see it, and then when it happens, you put together a performance like what they put together tonight.
Let's start on the offensive side, where Portland came out with a unique style. They were sending two to the ball in the pick and roll. I mean, again, if you let the Jazz play pick and roll, they'll kill you. Mm-hmm. But if you send two to the ball and Rudy rolls, which means you got to bring a third guy to tag the roller. I literally told you today at Shootaround, I was listening to Mike Richmond on Locked On Blazers, who does just amazing work. And he was saying that their defensive problem is that they're putting two to the ball and tagging the roller. And I said, like, if you do that, we're going to have open shots. I don't know what our final number is tonight on corner threes, where I'm going to look it up as we're talking, but boy, the Jazz got look after look after look tonight.
Yeah, look after look, and then all of a sudden that skip pass was getting the looks, or if they recovered out on the skip pass, then they put the next pass was up for a 3-point shot at the up above the three, a break three. So the Jazz got what they wanted. You know, some teams have the ability to take away the three from the Jazz and force the Jazz to do something else. The Portland Trailblazers are not one of those teams.
Jazz come in taking the most amount of threes in the league. Blazers allow the 26 or 27 in the league in threes, so the Jazz got 17 corner threes in this game.
Wow.
They only actually hit 6 of them, according to Clean the Glass. It felt like they hit a lot more. But every time, even at the end of the first quarter, the Jazz offensive rating was an 87, Ron. And I said, to you, I tweeted, you just knew the Jazz were okay. They were getting the looks they wanted. They were moving the ball. They were seeing it. There was a beautiful play late in the quarter where Mike Conley skipped it to Jordan Clarkson. It was just a sign that the Jazz had figured out what they were seeing.
Yeah, 46 3-point shots for the Jazz. The Jazz are averaging somewhere about 41 a ball game. But, again, the most important thing there, and the reward, I think, is just moving the basketball and getting what they want out of their offense. And obviously it's the 3-point shots. I find it fascinating, though, that in a ball game like this, most of those threes came from the right side of the floor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Jazz dominate. They had, just to put it in perspective, I'm just looking at Cleaning the Glass. Jazz offense tonight, according to Cleaning the Glass, was a 136, which puts them in the 99th percentile of all offensive performances this season. So that was one of the best offensive performances you're going to see all season long, and the Jazz really torched what is a bad defensive team in the Blazers. They came in 28th in the league defensively. Now let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Blazers are the third best offense in the league, and Dame Lillard was really non-impactful tonight. He was 4 of 12. If you were just at this game for the first time, you would not think he's a multi-time All-Star. You would not thought he was special. What did the Jazz do? Question coming in already. What did the Jazz do to slow down Dame?
Well, Damian is one of those guys that when he gets rolling, it's hard to stop. I don't think the Jazz let him get going. The game plan was to try to keep him in the middle of the floor, and I didn't see him get into his patented going to his left step back jump shot. So they kind of took that away from him. They forced him to drive to the basket. Rudy's there, and so he only gets up 12 shots, even though he spent 31 minutes out there on the floor. He's been averaging 35 a game. So he spent a significant amount of time out there on the floor. He just was unable to get the type of shots offensively that he has been accustomed to getting.
Riker points out the Jazz 31 assists tonight, just 5 turnovers, only 1 steal by the Blazers. So that's only one live ball turnover the entire game. And part of that's the Blazers' defense is not great, though they are 22nd in the league in forcing turnovers. The other thing, there just was a lot of space on the floor. We had all shooters on the floor at all times, and there were a lot of shooters on the floor, a lot of space on the floor, and that created passing lanes. It wasn't like we weren't taking risky passes either. A lot of skip passes, a lot of air under the ball, and yet they were on target and not getting intercepted.
So the Jazz didn't have to worry about hiding a player or anything like that, and the Portland Trailblazers didn't have the opportunity to take away anything from any of the players because they were getting what they needed out of Rudy down in the paint. Rudy had 11 shots tonight, made 9 of them, 15 rebounds, but his presence and his threat just generates so many good shots, I think, for his teammates as far as shooting 3-pointers.
Bunch of other notes coming in tonight. Donovan was dominating late, kind of put the game at 30, got wherever he wanted to, got in the paint. Blazers are 29th in the league. Not only do they allow a lot of corner threes, I mean, their defense is completely fundamentally broken. Like, statistically, it's a disaster. They're 27th in the league in allowing threes. They're 29th in the league in allowing shots at the rim. Those are the 2 highest percentage shots in the league. It's one thing to allow one, but to allow both just means you don't know what you're doing. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, you can't have a defense that gives those 2 shots up at the rate that the Blazers do. The Jazz took advantage of it beautifully. That's what's beautiful about tonight is everything Portland threw at them that had a flaw, and the Jazz took advantage of that flaw every single time.
Okay, but if we think about this, as good of passers as the Jazz have out there on the floor right now, is there a defense that can keep them from getting what they want? I mean, and I'm trying to just remember a team that actually has taken away everything from the Jazz. And they took away anything from the Jazz. It would have been like the LA Clippers last year with their wing players and the ability to switch 1 through 5 and the perimeter defense for the most part.
So the two things we've seen that have been interesting against the Jazz. For many years, people hugged the shooters, played 2-on-2 on the drop the big, played 2-on-2. We couldn't get our shooters. Atlanta did it to us. The Jazz have figured that out. They use the search dribble, they use some other stuff, or they just get the baskets. Mike Conley got more comfortable. So you're right. The last one left is switching 1 through 5, forcing us into a one-on-one game, getting us out of our pick and roll and passing. We don't pass as much when that happens. You're absolutely right. That's the answer. I'm a little stunned, frankly. Chauncey Billups, who's the Clippers assistant coach, didn't play Larry Nance as a center tonight and play that style and switch 1 through 5. Now, the minute you do that, you're playing isolation. They have bad defenders in Dame and CJ that are on an island, and so maybe that's why.
You can't
the Clippers had 6'8", 220 across the board, so you don't have the same personnel to be able to do that. I kind of tried to ask Chauncey that pregame. He gave kind of a delicate answer that he couldn't. Let's go to one other thing. Rudy Gobert was incredible tonight.
Yeah.
His final numbers were 21 points, 16 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, a block, plus 29. I'm doing this off the top of my head. I believe that Dame Lillard was 1 for 5 inside 10 feet, and that CJ McCollum was 2 for 8 inside 10 feet. Like, they got near the basket, and they couldn't do anything to that.
It's amazing what just the name Rudy Gobert does defensively. You get to the point where you think that you can get to the basket, and all of a sudden you think, oh, well, Rudy's down there. Now I've got to start looking out for the defenses and see, who you can pass the basketball to. But, last year he averaged 17 and 19 a game against the Portland Trailblazers. No different tonight, although Nurkic probably had one of his best basketball games against the Jazz in quite some time.
Andy says, looks like Rudy's getting more oops like a couple of years like he was so hard for him to get him. Is that Conley? Actually, Rudy's at 3.2 dunks a night, which is super high, most in the league. His big year, he's at 3.7. I think tonight was because of Portland.
Yeah.
But the Jazz exploited it, so that's what you have to do. Here's the interesting one you all can chew on. Jazz have won 6 of 8. The only 2 losses are on those. Both of them are based on reviews. If the reviews did not happen, and neither of them went our way, right? Like, both of the reviews were our benefit. We actually wish that neither of them went our way. The Jazz would have won 8 straight right now. We weren't great in the middle of that stretch. We looked pretty good the last 2 nights. Boston on Friday. The guys get a few days off. We'll be back with you. Thanks very much for tuning into POSTCAST. Locked on Jazz tomorrow. Have a great one.